like Brad's summer is over. Just kidding. All right, let's move on. Brad's summer will never end. We're moving on to Brad autumn. Okay, so Trump is now officially hitting the battleground states as Harris sees boost after the DNC. Let's take a look at what's going on. Obviously, there's constant polls coming out. We got 70 days until D-Day, okay? Or E-Day. E-Day. Election day. 70 days out. A lot can change in 70 days. But we are going to be looking at the polls, obviously. Let's take a look.
The race for the White House as the Trump team packs its schedule this week with events in battleground states and Vice President Harris enjoying a post-convention boost along with a healthy war chest, raising more than $500 million in just over a month. Selena Wang is at the White House now with the latest. Good morning, Selena.
Good morning, Gio. In just over a month, Vice President Harris has completely upended this election. She's gaining ground over Donald Trump in the polls and in her fundraising. To counter her rise, Donald Trump is stepping up his campaigning, blitzing through battleground states this week. This morning, Donald Trump preparing to storm the battleground states that will decide this election. The former president struggling to define his opponent, rallying supporters later today in Michigan before hitting Wisconsin and Pennsylvania later this week, hoping his new endorsement from independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will give him a boost. Vice President Harris erasing his lead in the polls.
He has a lot of votes that he could have gotten. I think he's going to have a huge influence.
The former Democrat now suspending his campaign that was in part fueled by conspiracy theories around vaccines and COVID.
We talked about not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together.
Trump.
Bro, this dude literally called him a sociopath like a month ago, okay, on television. RFK is such a deeply unserious person. I think it's hilarious. I love him, okay? Isn't suspending your campaign in exchange for a cabinet position a crime? No, dude, it is not a crime. Why do people think this is a crime? I'm so shocked that people like, no, it is not a crime. Are you guys like not American or something? Like, what the fuck's going on? It is specifically somewhat, it's something that like it is how, it's how things work in the primaries, especially. Like it happens all the time, you know, the things that sound illegal but aren't for 500. I don't really know. I don't really know. Does it even sound illegal? Maybe my brain is like so broken from covering American politics because you said it was one time. I don't have the clip, but I swear to God you did. I never said it was a crime. I said the exact opposite. People have been claiming that it's a crime nonstop in my chat for some weird reason. I don't know why. Did you know RFK's son is a Hassan Abi head? I do. I did know that. Yes. I was shocked to find out. I don't know if it's a misinformation campaign or what, but there's posts on social media claiming this. What is this? What is this? Code 599, promise of an appointment by candidate. Whoever being a candidate directly or indirectly promises or pledges the appointment or the use of his influence or support for the appointment of any other person or any public private position of employment for the purpose of procuring support in his candidacy shall be fined. Yeah, I don't think anyone has ever used this statute. I didn't even know this existed. Like, literally, this is like half of the cabinet appointments would be in jail if this was like applied. Seriously, I've never heard of this. I did not know this. And it's from what is it? Is it from 1948 originally? Imagine ordering donuts so poorly that they start trying to replace you with a brainworms guy. I know. This is the 2024 ticket, says Benny Johnson. Yeah. The way this law doesn't even recognize women holding office. I mean, you just say they're being appointed on merit and no one questions it. The bar to prove guilt on that would be so high. Yeah. Relevant WAPO. Yes. Yes, Donald Trump can announce whom he would appoint. Dylan Matthews of Vox, among others, has suggested it might be illegal for Trump to announce his would-be cabinet. Trump can rest easy. He can announce his choices, and there's no good legal argument otherwise. As Mitu Gulati and I pointed out in a paper entitled, Mr. Presidential Candidate, whom would you nominate? The relevant statute is ambiguous, and more importantly, applying the statute to a public promise like this one would run afoul of the First Amendment. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. Historically, people do this shit in the primaries all the fucking time. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I've never heard, in my experience, covering politics, like, I've never heard of someone applying this statute seriously to any kind of candidate whatsoever. As we note in our article, there's a textual ambiguity in the statute. The trigger for the statute is procuring support in his candidacy. Is this trigger procuring support from the public for his candidacy, or instead procuring support from the potential nominee or perhaps the potential nominee's associates for his candidacy? Like, there's a shit ton of weird laws out there, man. Not all of them are applied evenly. Not all of them are applied at all, as a matter of fact. This is one of those things where it's like, I don't think people apply this at all. People don't consider this at all. It's only a fine anyways, not jail time. Look up U.S. Code 600. That one's slightly different, but a lot more applicable. Yeah, like in Texas, it's illegal to own more than 6 dildos. Yeah, there's like really funny fucking laws like that. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if you know this, but like historically speaking, people have routinely dropped out in an effort to get quid pro quo cabinet positions. Pete Buttigieg, for example, our transportation secretary, straight up got that job because he dropped out. Like, I didn't even know this law existed, but I don't think this is a thing that has ever been applied. Now, liberal media and libbed up courts that hate our beautiful president, who is still the current president and will be running for his 3rd term now, our shadow president with his shadow cabinet. They want to take him out. They want to take him out because he's standing in the way of all of those who want the corporate tax rate to be even lowered. Okay, for all of those who want the top marginal tax rate to be even lowered because it's far too high. Okay, people like myself, that is. You know, they might come after him because the deep state's coming after him because he's standing in the way, right? They might try to like get super libbed up and use this for the first time ever. I think it's a mistake. They probably should let this one go, considering that it will only reaffirm that people are unjustifiably tackling this issue when there is a million other like overt displays of the same exact quid pro quo type shit happening on the Democratic Party as well, and also throughout American political history. So, you know, it's dumb. All right, let's continue.
Ramping up his campaigning to counter Harris's rise, her campaign reporting they've raised more than $500 million in just over a month, with the most donations pouring in the hour after her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention on Thursday night. Harris striking a moderate tone, trying to appeal to independents.
I will never waver in defense of America's security and ideals, because in the enduring struggle between democracy and tyranny, I know where I stand and I know where the United States belongs.
As part of his new offensive, Trump trying to strike a new tone on one of his biggest vulnerabilities, abortion, writing over the weekend that his administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. This after months of boasting that his picks to the Supreme Court helped overturn Roe v. Wade. His running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, now committing that Trump would not sign a federal abortion ban, something Trump has repeatedly waffled on.
Would he veto it?
Well, I think it'd be very clear he would not support it. I mean, he said that explicitly. Yeah, I mean, if you're not supporting it as the president of the United States, you fundamentally have to veto it.
So he would veto a federal abortion ban?
I think he would.
In response, the Harris campaign says the women of America cannot trust what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance say because they've already seen what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have done.
I mean, how is this any different than literally Democrats saying that, like, this is, oh my God, this is the perfect mirror image of the Democrats trying to retriangulate their positions on immigration by capitulating to right-wing framing and pushing for a right-wing border bill, right? How is that any different? Doors open. Anyway, like, this is the exact same thing playing out on the issue of immigration. Okay? That's it. It's literally the flip-flop. No Republicans believe that, like, Democrats are actually going to control immigration. Okay? Just like no Democrats believe that Republicans are going to be less restrictive on abortion. Like, they own it. That's their problem. They did that shit. So it doesn't make any fucking sense that they actively try to change the dynamic. Abortion is more of an ingrained issue in GOP politics than immigration is in Dem politics. I don't think you've ever talked to Republicans in the way that they analyze the Democratic Party on immigration. It absolutely, bad day to be a Zin. Yeah, I'm sucking it down, dude. Lip pillows all day. It's always a bad day at the Hasan Highway broadcast to be a Zin. It's been a wish-wash since forever. Not in the way that most Americans analyze it. Like, Even in the last election cycle, like, think about it, dude. Last election cycle, Democrats were pro-immigration. That was in 2020. It wasn't that long ago. It's crazy.
Trump ripped away women's freedoms in all 50 states by overturning Roe.
Harris is also getting back on the trail this week with a bus tour through battleground Georgia, but she's also focused on debate preparation ahead of her first face-off with Donald Trump on ABC News on September 10th. Sade?
Okay, so just over 2 weeks.
This is devastating. Donald Trump's campaign is casting doubt on whether or not there is going to be a September debate. I'm actually kind of upset. If Trump does this, he is washed, brother. Let me tell you something. This is devastating for many different reasons. One, I'm going to go pee real quick, but I'm going to tell you right now, he better not fucking
until their critical
face-to-face
showdown. It now seems former President Trump and Vice President Harris's campaign this morning have reached a brand new stalemate of sorts over exactly how the debate will go down. Trump going on a brand new social media tear, as Kamala Harris's team is now making the case for debate microphones to stay on the whole time. Lucky for us, we've got CNN's Elena Trine and Priscilla Alvarez, who have the new reporting on what each side is saying. All right, Elena, I want to go to you first. What is the latest from Team Trump?
Right. Well, you're exactly right, Omar, because it does seem like the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign have reached somewhat of an impasse as it relates to the debate rules for that ABC debate on September 10th. Part of that is about the microphones being muted. Remember, back in June for that June 27 CNN debate between Trump and Biden, there were a whole host of different rules that they had agreed to, including having the microphones be turned off when one of the candidates was not speaking. The Trump campaign, we're told, still wants that rule to be in place. However, the Harris campaign is now saying this is a new candidate. We are a different campaign, and we want the mics to be on for the extent of the debate. So there's some behind the scenes back and forth over this. I do want to read for you what we heard from Jason Miller. He's a senior Trump campaign advisor on all of this. He said, quote, "Enough with the games. We accepted the ABC debate under the exact same terms as the CNN debate. The Harris camp, after having already agreed to the CNN rules, asked for a seated debate with notes and opening statements." Of course, I'll have you have Priscilla fact check some of that. And then he added, "We said no changes to the agreed upon rules." Now, all of this also comes, I'd like to note, as the former president himself kind of posted on social media yesterday, throwing doubt into whether or not he may actually try to pull out of this debate. He wrote, quote, "Why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on that network?" He said that as he continued to, he said he was watching the Sunday show yesterday on ABC, was slamming some of the key people at the network. So all of this kind of throwing questions into what exactly is this ABC debate going to look like. But I do just want to add, Omar, that this isn't entirely surprising.
Harris team thinks Trump's people haven't told him about the hot mic dispute. Scott MacFarlane, CBS's news congressional correspondent, says new VP Harris campaign statement about whether there should be a mute button at the September 10th presidential debate. "We have told ABC and other networks seeking to host a possible October debate that we believe both candidates' mics should be live throughout the full broadcast. Our understanding is that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own." They're not wrong. Remember what I told you on the last debate? I told you, no, muted isn't better for Harris. Fuck no. I'm telling you right now. No, it's because when the last time Joe Biden and Trump went toe-to-toe, they didn't have muted mics. And hot mic was really bad for Trump because he just kept talking over, and it looked ridiculous. It kind of at certain points looked like he was being so aggressive to an old man. Okay? The reality is, in an unmuted mic situation, like either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, it doesn't matter, but a muted mic makes him seem more professional. An unmuted mic with a hot mic will absolutely make him look unhinged and probably racist too. If he has unmuted hot mic moments where he just like slips up and just says something so unhinged because like Kamala Harris triggers him, that will play very poorly. Because remember, one of Trump's biggest weaknesses is that he is demonstrably engaging in a clown show every time. Now, that works well in his rallies, but those guys are obviously not enough to win a general election. Okay? He needs to pick up people or he needs to instill confidence that this is a different Trump. He hasn't done that so far, but a lot of people are going to watch him at this debate. There will be more than 50 million people watching this upcoming debate. It's a massive moment for Donald Trump to change the dynamic. So if he is unmuted, okay, if he is unmuted, he could basically prove once again that he is unchanged, okay, and that he is absolutely nutty, that he is still the very same chaotic person that people don't like. If he comes across as racist, for example, in that conversation, when like Kamala Harris is like saying something and then he cuts in and like disputes whether she's really a black woman or not, or something even worse than that, who knows? That would genuinely be harmful for his for any number of different ways in which they're trying to appeal and trying to like piece back for like Republicans that used to vote for Donald Trump in the suburbs that now think he's weird and gross. Okay? Trump is going to say the N-word before this election is over. I mean, nuclear. If he follows her around like he did Hillary, it's over. So that's the thing. Trump was able to dunk on Hillary because Hillary was genuinely less likable than Kamala Harris, because Hillary Clinton is, Epstein affiliate, representation of the old guard. Donald Trump was an anti-establishment candidate with more moderate positions on war, right? And didn't have a lot of the baggage that like other Republicans did. Hillary Clinton was hated and despised for years and years before she even got to that point. Whereas Kamala Harris is not. And there is not a lot of time to build enough oppo on Kamala Harris. Not to mention the Clintons created the Rust Belt with NAFTA. Yeah. So anti-establishment law, chat. I'm not saying Trump is actually anti-establishment. That would be fucking delusional. I'm simply stating that he presented himself as such, and there's a lot of staying power to that, even nowadays, with the unaffiliated, uninitiated. People like Theo Vaughn, for example, still think like, oh, well, you're not a part of the establishment, sir. They still say shit like that. It's so funny to also still claim that when he was the president. You can't be anti-establishment when you were leading the establishment for 4 years. My family members still repeat that he's not a politician line. That guy's crazy. I know. So you have to understand that, right? Our understanding is that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own. We suspect Trump's team has not even told their boss about this dispute because it would be too embarrassing to admit they don't think he can handle himself against Vice President Harris without the benefit of a mute button. This is actually pretty solid. Like this is cutting in a way that will piss off Donald Trump. Like, I can't believe that this is what the election cycle has come to, which is like appealing to the thin-skinned, narcissistic tendencies of one candidate over the other. But it's a solid play, in my opinion. And I do they're belittling him. They're poking the bear. They're baiting him. It's basically akin to the crowd size conversation, right? It's like, obviously, who gives a shit? But there is one guy who does. And one guy who won't let it go, and one guy who will actually consistently talk about crowd sizes. Do you understand what I'm saying? You get him talking, and he takes himself down, basically. Yeah. So, yeah, here is Megaphonics. I have your link, my man. I got it. I'm going to play it now. Thinking about my favorite unmuted mic moment from the third debate in 2020.
We have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the vice president. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers. Queens. $100 trillion.
Queens. It's not even that good of a link, Megaphonics. Wait, I am dumb. I thought the muted mics were to prevent people from steamrolling over one another. Yes. The reason why they did the muted mic situation, this is straight cope. Trump is not going to talk about crowd sizes with Kamala. He's just going to talk about the border. I don't know what liberals are saying. No, dude. He's not going to talk about fucking crowd sizes with Kamala Harris on the debate. That's a separate conversation that plays along the same thing that I'm saying, that like the Kamala Harris campaign is belittling Trump in ways that Trump cares about. If they call him an authoritarian or a dictator, that doesn't, like, he doesn't give a shit about that. His base doesn't give a shit about that. That's not going to move the needle. because that, like, presenting him as a scary person, it plays well to certain aspects of the base, like the broader electorate, but portraying him as a scary person is something that he takes advantage of. He wants to be a scary person. He wants to make the libs be fearful of him. That negatively polarizes a lot of people who also hate liberals to go and say, well, I like that. But when you actually when you actually humiliate him, you deflate him. Okay? When his ego takes a hit, that's something he cares about. And you end up handicapping his campaign because instead of fucking talking about the border, he starts talking about crowd sizes. Do you understand? I'm not saying they're going to talk about crowd sizes at the debate, but this way of talking about the upcoming debate and saying Trump can't control himself, how humiliating, how embarrassing for him, I think is another thing. Like putting him at odds with his staffers, okay? Putting him at odds with his staffers is a good move because it is another instance where Trump will go out and regularly talk about how his staffers tell him not to make personal attacks against Kamala, right? Like he does that all the time. That plays well to his base, like his hyper-focused, locked-in MAGA cult. That plays well to the base, for sure. But that doesn't play well to the additional people that he's trying to bring to his side, okay? Because all those people think he's a clown. Like people that formerly were, Republican Party voters that maybe are thinking about not voting or maybe are thinking about even voting for the Democrats, right? And that is the calculation that they're making. That is the calculation that Joe Biden made. I don't think that if I'm conducting a broader analysis on what demographics the Kamala Harris campaign is seeking to activate, I don't think that's a smart idea. I think that it's better to push for a more progressive message, stay on that front. Obviously, still hyper focus on Trump being silly and chaotic, sure, at times, depending on which suburb you're presenting yourself to. If you're talking about suburbs in Pennsylvania where you have college educated whites that maybe voted for Joe Biden and you want them on board, then yeah, sure, do this shit, right? But for the rest of the country, places like Arizona, places like Nevada, places like New Mexico, in the Sun Belt, or even if you're looking at the Rust Belt, like hyper focusing on progressive economic policies that will greatly improve their lives is a solid move, okay? You can run a different campaign in different areas. As a matter of fact, they do that already. They already do that. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach. It's a multifaceted approach. And this is one aspect of it that I think isn't necessarily bad because the moment, okay, the moment that you gum up the works, every moment that Trump is talking about crowd sizes or a bunch of other fucking dumb shit is a moment that he's not actively campaigning on the border, okay? That's it. It's what I was also fearful of with respect to the Democratic Party, with respect to the Kamala Harris campaign, getting caught up in a negative spiral, negative media spiral about like anti-Semitism allegations that are so super cynical, or even getting caught up in a negative campaign spiral about like how some members of the progressive base are not going to vote for Kamala Harris. Some members of the progressive side of the Democratic Party's base are not going to vote for Kamala Harris over Gaza or over a number of different issues. That ends up cutting into the limited amount of time you have to do progressive, or rather not progressive, positive campaigning. You know what I mean? It's the Corbyn spiral, as I like to call it. Corbyn was fairly popular, and he did not triangulate adequately and have a firm, hardline position that he committed to on Brexit, but he also didn't have enough time to do that because he was always talking about anti-Semitism, okay? And when you do that, when you get caught up in that, you don't have time in the media to talk about why people should vote for you, okay? It's not good. And the same could happen to the Kamala Harris campaign as well. If they get caught up in like the anti-Semitism allegations, all this shit, like they're cooked. That takes away from the positive campaigning that they could be doing about what their policies are and what they're going to do for the American people that might not want to vote for them, but might actually come out and vote for them regardless. Anyway, Here's Donald Trump talking about the hot mics, the muted mics during the debate.
Whenever you're not speaking.
Bro, he looks so skinny, it's like creeping me out. He's starting to look like a different person, dude.
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine.
He's starting to look hot, you know? He's starting to look kind of sexy, dude.
I mean, ask Biden how it.
If it doesn't matter, then why don't you just go along with it? I don't understand it. He's like, oh, it doesn't matter, but also I don't want it. Like, which one is it, bro? Which one is it? Which is it?
It worked out, it was fine. And I think it should be the same. We agreed to the same rules. Same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
President Trump, would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it.
Yeah. He says he doesn't like that the mics were muted, but he's also saying he wants to keep to that. That's great. Him saying she's not smart so often is going to blow up in his face when she whoops him. I think Kamala Harris as a fucking prosecutor is probably better off against someone like Donald Trump. I think especially because like she doesn't have the same baggage that Hillary Clinton had, which is, by the way, I want to reiterate something here, okay? Virtually no one has the baggage that Hillary Clinton has. Okay? You need to understand something. Like, Hillary Clinton was uniquely positioned as a bad candidate, like a historically bad, historically unpopular person. Okay? So that's part of the reason why Trump can't do the anti-Hillary campaign messaging. Misogyny can't explain the entirety of that vibe. Yeah, I don't, like, people tried to fucking portray it as like simple misogyny, which played a role, certainly, but like, and it will play a role in this situation as well. But you're fucking delusional if you think that Hillary Clinton was only hated because of misogyny. Like, that is how the DNC portrayed it, but that wasn't the fucking case. You had 30 years of fucking Oppo on her. Like, it's crazy. There are still anti-Clinton conspiracy theory videos from the 90s YouTube. Yeah, there is an entire cottage industry dedicated to the Clinton family, okay? And some of it is very real, and some of it is actually not real, okay? But it doesn't matter. What matters is she should have never been the candidate.
The last time, but it worked out fine. I mean, ask Biden how it worked out. It was fine. And I think it should be the same. We agreed to the same rules. Same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
President Trump, would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
Like, this literally doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? This doesn't make sense. If you want the debate, and she's trying to get out of it, then just, yeah, who gives a fuck? You're saying that you don't give a shit. You're saying you don't care if the mics are muted or not. Okay, great. Hop off then. My wife, a labor organizer around climate change in LA, was on a Zoom conference. Someone on the line was listening to you and forgot to mute the stream at the beginning of the meeting. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Anyway, this is like wishy-washy bullshit. And I personally think that it's going to make him look like a pussy.
Surprising. We know that the Trump campaign has been very critical of the debate rules in the past. We saw that in the lead up to the CNN debate. We're also seeing the former president himself do exactly the same thing as last time as well, which is trying to throw doubt on whether the debate will be fair, to argue that the network is biased, to argue that the cards are stacked against him. This is exactly what we're seeing him do with this debate as well, trying to kind of pre-butt whatever is going to happen. And I can tell you from my conversation with Donald Trump's senior advisors, they privately acknowledged that they are more concerned about this debate than they were about the one with Biden. Harris is an entirely different opponent. They're not exactly sure what this is going to look like. So some of that is also, I think, contributing to all of this behind the scenes.
Yeah, look, a lot to keep an eye on that front. I want to bring in Priscilla into this because obviously
I forgot to mute the stream on a work call once, and everyone heard you yell, "Nobody likes Chris Christie." I mean, better that than fucking me chirping him at the top of the hour ad break at the top of every hour, you know? Because it is true. Nobody likes Chris Christie. But a lot of people also don't like the top of the hour ad break. Okay? And those who don't like the top of the hour ad break, the 3-minute long top of the hour ad break, can just simply subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting their Amazon Prime account to their Twitch account and get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Okay? Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Better than hearing Hasan piss. I think a lot of people like to hear that. I'm not going to lie. It was weird. People were celebrating that moment, which they shouldn't.
Whole aspect of this is what is the Harris campaign saying? Takes two to tango here. So what are they saying? What are their concerns with this debate coming up?
Where I'm told that the only remaining dispute in this drama, this back and forth, is whether the mics are going to be on. The Harris campaign wants them to be on. Of course, the debate rules, when they were set, were with a different candidate. That was President Joe Biden. Now, the Harris campaign says that they want these mics to be on. And in a statement, a senior campaign official saying the following, quote, "Our understanding is that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own." The statement goes on to say that they don't think he can handle himself against Vice President Harris without the benefit of a mute button. So they are needling former President Donald Trump a little bit here, but they also are pushing back against some of what you heard there from the Trump campaign, that the Harris campaign wanted the two candidates to be seated and for there to be notes. They say that is not the case, and while they are open to having opening statements, that is not something that they are insisting on. Again, the bottom line here,
they need the mute. Bro, I don't care if they have the mute. I don't care if they don't have the mute, okay? I genuinely don't give a shit. I need you guys to understand something. I don't care if there's a mute-unmute situation. I want this debate to happen. If either side fucks up the bag in this circumstance, I will lose my fucking mind, okay? This debate has to happen. It is going to be endless content, and it is something that, like, I think will, if you care about this sort of thing, improve your candidate's chances. You might be a massive Trump supporter, okay? I'm telling you right now, you want your candidate to fucking own the other side, right? Just like how you felt. Remember how you felt when Donald Trump owned Hillary Clinton over and over again in the debates? Imagine how glorious that was. You can get that again. If you're a Kamala Harris supporter, if you're Brad Summer, think about how sick it will be if the prosecutor fucking goes ultra instinct on the convict, okay? On the felon. They already took away the Georgia trial from us. I know that was going to be months and months and months of content. I'm already fucking pissed off about that. They cannot do this, okay? They cannot do this to us. But yeah, it's win-win overall. It's win-win overall. It is kind of frustrating that Trump is so fucking juiceless, so unimaginably juiceless, so unimaginably sauceless nowadays that it frustrates me to no end that he's like making these sorts of decisions. Like, old Trump would have been loving this moment. He'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah. It's not like you're trailing, dude. It's not like you're winning the race. It's a tight race. It's a tight race. It could go in either direction. So it's obviously worthwhile for both candidates to want to fucking do this. The only reason why I'm seeing Donald Trump like make this kind of decision is because he's worried.
is that this feud is about the mics being on or off over the course of the debate. Now, I will also note that the next couple of weeks, I've been told, are very focused on debate preparations. This is something that the vice president already started earlier this month and something that she is going to be doubling down on in the days to come. Of course, recognizing that this is likely a large audience to tune in for this debate, and it gives her the opportunity to go toe-to-toe against former President Donald Trump. And while she does do that, there will be travel, perhaps not as much as earlier this month. This week, for example, she will go to Georgia with with her vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz. That is a state, of course, that President Biden only won by less than 12,000 votes. So it is going to be one of the battlegrounds that is closely watched this election cycle, and one that they are using to kick off after the Democratic National Convention. Omar.
And Priscilla, obviously, one major question that has been circulating over the course of the quick launch of her campaign, now post DNC, is prior to this debate, will she sit down for an interview and answer some questions over potentially some of her changed past positions? Do we know the latest on that front at all? If there are any plans on the books, even?
They have not yet provided any details on when exactly that will happen. But as you know, the messaging from the campaign was that there would be an interview before the end of the month. Of course, the month ends this week, and we still don't yet have any clarity on when or if she will be doing that sit-down interview. But certainly that is an observation that many have made, because a lot of the campaign over the last month has been very choreographed with these stops, these rallies, the Democratic National Convention. So while she has spoken to press over the course of those rallies and gaggles as rallies end, she has not yet done that formal sit-down interview, which would be less choreographed simply because it is an interview. So you would have the journalist asking the questions there. So we're still waiting to see if we get more details on that. But certainly the timeline that was provided earlier this month is coming now to a close.
Yeah, a lot to keep an eye on, especially as both of these camps end up heating up their campaign blitz, I guess is fair to say. Priscilla Alvarez, Elaine Treen, thanks to you both.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris had both agreed to a debate on ABC News on September 10th. That's just 2 weeks away. But now Trump is giving an impression he may have changed his mind. In a post on Truth Social on Sunday, Trump attacked ABC News for a segment he didn't like and asked, quote, "Why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on that network?"
It does seem like he's fucking running away, dude. It does seem like he's running the fuck away. Okay? Like, very odd. This is unlike him. I don't think this right here, this flailing back and forth, okay? This actually is poison for his base, even, because his base wants him to be a strong fighter. Okay? His base wants him to be a strong fighter. His base wants him to call Kamala Harris, slurs. So not only are you failing to pick up any kind of people that you lost, okay, from 2016 to 2020, but you're also going to hemorrhage a piece of your base that likes the juice and likes the content. Okay? No, his base don't care, doesn't. No. His base obviously is cult-like, and they will go wherever he goes. But there are still people in his base that are like, yeah, I like that he's a fighter. Okay? This causes them to feel a little bit embarrassed. This causes them to feel like he's no longer got the juice and the sauce. If you're a strong man and your charisma is what is keeping so many people motivated in voting for you, this is going to cut away at the enthusiasm. Especially when people start fucking chirping about how scared he is. Okay? This gives a wonderful opportunity to every Democrat to be like, yo, where's your fucking scaredy cat ass president? I thought he was a big baller. Cope Hassan Chatter is right. His base wants him to avoid bad fights. You're wrong. You're wrong. It worked in the primary because he had fucking 40 points on whoever the fuck was coming after him. This is a tight race, brother. It worked in the primary because he was going up against Republicans and he already had 30 points, 40 points on whoever was trailing behind. The fucking Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis was ass. You're wrong. It's not a bad fight at all. His base doesn't see this as a bad fight. And Trump can't say that this is a bad fight. Trump can't present this as a done deal. He can't present this as a done deal for two reasons. Number one, if he says it's a done deal, this race is in the fucking bag, then that cuts away at the enthusiasm, or rather, that cuts away at like that depresses voter turnout, because he has to say like, this is a close race. You got to come out and vote. That's why he keeps repeating over and over again. November is really important. We're going to win, but we're going to win by such large margins. And I want every single one of you to go out to show America that like we have, we have the juice, right? He's trying to do that. He's trying to play that song and dance to make sure that he doesn't fucking depress voter turnout at all. Because if people think like, oh, it's in the bag, some people are going to be like, oh, well, I'm not voting today, right? And you can't have that. The other reason why he can't fucking say that he's carrying this fucking race is because there are no polls showing he's carrying the fucking race. Like even Rasmussen shows him by winning within a margin of error. You know what I mean? There is nothing that shows that he's like got this in the fucking bag. Rasmussen is the one right-wing poll that he consistently brings up. And even on that one, he's not up that much. He's not up by he's up by like 4 or 5 points. You're right. He's either chosen or unstoppable in his base's eyes. Yeah. If he says personally, oh, I got this in the bag, I'm leading by 30, well, that's obviously false. Right? Maybe I'm dumb, but wasn't that how it was in 2016? Yes, but this is not 2016. We live in a post-2020 world where Trump lost already. Like, look at this. This is a right-wing pollster. Kaplan Strategies, generic ballot, Dem 44%, GOP 41%. Favorability, unfavorability, Harris nets at +4. Waltz is at +4. Vance is -10. Trump is -12. Harris is 52% to Trump's 45%. Like, this is outside of the margin of error. The margin of error here is 2.8%, give or take. This is also crazy because it says Trump is less than Vance, which shocks me. The only way I foresee this like resembling 2016 at all, even though it's a post-2020 world that we live in, is if nah, Hasan, you're wrong. It's a bad fight. Trump knows it. He has good instincts, and so do his base. Wait, what? If you think the Trump base has good instincts, you're delusional. Donald Trump secured a lot of Obama to Trump voters, secured a lot of voters that he activated a lot of voters in the general. That is the reason why the polls were cucked in 2016. They corrected that mistake in 2020. 2016 is the only time where polls were wrong. Okay, people keep bringing up 2016, but polls were correct in 2022. Polls were correct in 2020. The only way that polls are incorrect, okay, the only way that polls are incorrect in 2024 is if Trump's blitzkrieg on fucking social media somehow magically gets a lot of like men who previously were not activated, the Andrew Tate coalition, the Andrew Tate orbiter coalition, to like fucking go out and vote, which is unlikely. Okay. Like people that were not interested in voting before are somehow getting invested in voting. Like if the divorced dad coalition is just like on board. That is very difficult to do in 70 days. That's number one. And that's also like the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because those are people that like vote. Those are people that pollsters are unfamiliar with. Those are people that pollsters cannot read. Okay? You need to understand. Divorced Dads is a great card game. The move is to never mention that group again, so they forget Lamau, and so they don't go out and vote out of lib spite. I don't think that you can activate those guys anyway. They're young, they're men, they're non-college educated young men for the most part that haven't made up their minds or were too young to make up their minds during the Trump administration, or just like, well, we're literally just not interested or invested whatsoever. But Trump's charisma, his macho appeal can come across as like appealing to them. But even then, is it going to be enough for them to go out, register to vote, and then fucking go out and actually vote? Like, that's very, very, very unlikely. You know? Very, very unlikely. So.
And now there is new uncertainty behind the scenes, too. In a statement this morning, Brian Fallon with Kamala Harris tells me this, quote, "We have told ABC and other networks seeking..."
Someone in the chat said Trump is the opposite of macho. Guys, or someone said, what is macho about Trump? Trump is macho in exactly the ways that these fucking stupid dudes think a guy is supposed to present themselves. These are the people who think Andrew Tate is a masculine man. These are the people who think masculinity is a substitute for confidence, and they literally respond to shapes and colors. They do not think deeply about what the fuck is actually real masculinity, or rather, what real confidence looks like. Okay? Trump is a fucking loser. He is a thin-skinned, insecure loser in many respects. And he overcorrects for that by constantly being misogynistic, constantly portraying himself a certain way. That appeals to a lot of other insecure fucking losers, okay? Those dudes go to Hooters, who go to Hooters and think the servers like them. Exactly. Hassan's right. I can't see playing well to his base. He's just amplifying the negative impact it's going to have if he bombs his performance on stage. His whole shtick is fearlessness against the swamp, and this paints him as a wuss. I hope the debate happens. If he's as nervous as it seems with these recent unhinged interviews and debate hesitations, it might be the final nail in the coffin for his campaign. Yeah. If he doesn't do the debate, he looks like a pussy, and liberals keep fucking making fun of him in a way that will cut across his base, in a way that could technically depress voter turnout for him, okay? It definitely will cut across the enthusiasm because he has obviously crafted himself as this like strong fucking fighter. You can't do that. You can't present yourself as a strong fighter and then literally not do a debate against someone like Kamala Harris, who you're saying is a dumbass, who you're saying is a DEI pick. You should be able to run the table. You should be able to destroy her if that's the case. Okay? 100%. There's a ton of those people, men specifically, who are constantly suffering due to the financial burdens due to the economy, with a lot of anger and don't necessarily understand why it's happening and feel like Trump will fix it even though he won't. Yeah, absolutely. Economic instability and a lack of future prospects creates a volatile environment where young men especially can find themselves in the throes of reactionary sentiment, reactionary politics. That is at the heart of this conversation. Historically, that is also how fascist movements have mobilized. Okay? Are you doing by your logic for Republicans, bro? Wait, what?
To host a possible October debate that we believe both candidates' microphones should be live throughout the full broadcast. Our understanding is that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own. We suspect Trump's team has not even told their boss about this dispute because it would be too embarrassing to admit that they don't think he can handle himself against Vice President Harris without the benefit of a mute button. Now, of course, let's remember that Harris has used hot microphones to her own advantage in debates past. Watch.
I'm speaking. I know. That's great.
This is important.
Susan,
I want to
have
add,
to
but
weigh in here.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have to
I'm
weigh
speaking.
in. Repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking. If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation. Okay?
Please.
Okay.
And that, of course, Alec.
The difference, of course, is that Mike Pence is like already around a woman without mother being in close proximity. So he's going to fucking, he's going to be way more agreeable. Trump, on the other hand, will not be. And he'll pop the fuck off, which will look bad, right? On the one hand, it'll look good to his base because he's strong, okay? He's sticking it to her, right? He's a fighter. And he's cooking this black woman. Ha, yeah. Right? But on the other hand, there's a shit ton of people that Trump is trying to captivate in this situation to show a different side of Trump. Okay? He's not going to win new voters. And if he's not going to win new voters, then he's fucking cooked. Okay? I think ultimately it doesn't matter whether the microphones are muted, whether the microphones are not muted. It still doesn't matter. This is good for Harris and bad for Trump. Obviously, if the microphones are muted, Trump automatically looks more presentable, right? He automatically looks more presentable, looks more presidential for those who desperately want to believe that he has that dog in him, that he could be that fucking moderate person somehow, even though he's obviously not. But again, the median voter is a fucking idiot, as you guys know, and responds to shapes, colors, sizes, and also vibes. So that's why I think his team wants the mics to be muted.
Became a sort of iconic moment for her, like it was plastered on T-shirts, etc. But very interesting back and forth here in the final. I mean, that Fallon statement is clearly written to get a rise out of Donald Trump himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, after this summer, let no one ever say again that debates do not matter, which is why you are having this fight over these small.
No, debates do matter in this situation. This is a unique race. Okay, debates were so consequential in this fucking race that Joe Biden had to drop out. Okay, that's number one. Number two, debate in this circumstance is also uniquely consequential. Oh, that's what he said. He said never say they don't matter. Oh, I misunderstood him.
Donald Trump himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, after this summer, let no one ever say again that debates do not matter, which is why you are having this fight over these small details. Now,
sorry, I was yelling at my dad.
What's also really interesting is not just that she's used the hot mic to great effect in the past, but also you have to remember Joe Biden wanted the mute button for the first debate. They set those rules for that first debate, and because they didn't want a repeat of the first debate from 20.
No, not yelling at him like in a mean way. I was like trying to get his attention. Chat, calm down.
2020, when Trump just sort of ranted and raved. So this was the Joe Biden's idea. The problem was that then the Trump campaign was like, okay, we're actually going to like make him, as Fallon indicated, disciplined. And it actually made him seem more sober than he often comes across.
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, look, when Kamala took over the ticket, they're trying to have it both ways. Because remember, when Kamala took over the ticket, they told the Trump campaign, we've already agreed to the ABC debate on September 10th. And they were saying, well, we can renegotiate a little bit on what the debate is. Now they're flipping it and saying, well, just because you agree to the debate doesn't mean we agreed to the rules. Look, she wants the hot mic moment because what she's had, if you remember the first debate with Joe Biden, the I'm speaking, she loves to create these little memeable moments that, are kind of based off stock lines that she's practiced and kind of her team is prepared for. They've already the T-shirts printed up. So she's trying to draw out Trump with some of this stuff.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, does this really matter? When they go to debate, the American people deserve a debate. They deserve to hear the issues being fought, to have a discussion. So I don't think at the end of the day this matters. I think it's just more political insider baseball stuff. It's fun to talk about all the things.
Take 3 weeks.
It's what we're going to talk about for next week. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I think the important thing is to have a debate and to have them have a discussion about the issues.
Now, in the interest of being fair and biased, let's take a look at what the real news is saying. Fox News about the hot mic debate. Now that we watched mainstream liberal media, now we watch the libtards. Let's watch what the real Americans have to say about this hot mic situation. How will they make Donald Trump seem like he's not the one who's spoiling the fun?
Here we go. We start with President Biden leaving his California vacation for another one in Delaware. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump both hit the campaign trail in several key battleground states.
And Peter Ducey is at the White House with the latest. Hey, Peter.
Good morning. And if you saw this photo, you would assume that President Biden...
God, Peter Ducey keeps looking worse and worse, man. How are you going to fucking get on camera looking like that, man?
...is here.
Have some respect.
Walking out of the Oval Office and through...
Chat, please stop sending me the same Harry video. Please, please, please. I beg you. I beg you. We watched it like 8 times since it came out, okay? I love you, chatters. Please. I know. I look concerned, okay? I know I look concerned. Please stop. Sometimes chatters don't get the message, you know? After the 3rd spam, know that I'm like purposely not looking at it. Possibly because we've watched it a million times over at this point, okay? Love you guys. Please stop spamming.
Through the Rose Garden for a private moment with his partner, the vice president, especially since the caption says, "We're working for you." But the president is not here. He left his California vacation for a Delaware vacation. Vice President Harris is in town, but we don't expect to see much of her till Wednesday and Thursday. She will be in Georgia both those days. Her
campaign stops. Harris, Wednesday, Georgia. Thursday, Georgia. Waltz, Wednesday, Georgia. For Trump, today he's in Virginia and Michigan. Thursday he's in Wisconsin and Michigan. Friday he's in Pennsylvania. And Vance, only one stop, Michigan. Now, obviously, I will repeat myself over and over again throughout this election cycle. In the next 70 days, you will hear me say this a lot. This will come down to Pennsylvania. If the Democrats win Pennsylvania, it's a wrap. On 538, it really doesn't look like Kamala got a bump, like maybe 1 to 2 points nationally. Are they reliable? I don't think there was ever going to be a massive bump after the DNC, but I think that bump would have been significantly better if she had done a more progressive, if she leaned into the progressive economic policy instead of talking about how muscular of a military she wants to have, for sure. But I don't know how reliable 538 is. They just recently changed their scoring too. There also isn't a lot of post-convention polls yet, so you don't really know what the bump looks like. It could be larger. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what it's going to look like. There probably will be a post-convention bump, though. Like, it won't depress, in my opinion. But depending on like how big will the bump be? And more importantly, more consequentially, how big will that bump be in a place like Pennsylvania? Because again, this race is down to the fucking margins in Pennsylvania. Okay? I feel like she has to win all 3, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, unless she flips an unexpected state. Yeah, the reason why I'm saying Pennsylvania is because Michigan and Wisconsin are seemingly in the bag unless there are all of these like otherwise non-voters that just come out and are you know, they're not seen in the polls somehow. Michigan is a little bit more contested as well, but we'll see. All right, let's continue.
Battleground of the week. Trump plans to visit Virginia and Michigan today, Wisconsin and Michigan Thursday, then Pennsylvania Friday. Their first in-person meeting is supposed to be September 10th for an ABC debate. The Harris campaign is now telling Politico that unlike last time for Trump v. Biden, they would prefer the mics to be hot the entire time, no muting. An advisor is quoted as saying they think Trump wants the mics muted, but there might not be a debate at all after an ABC interview of Tom Cotton yesterday that Trump did not think was fair. He is questioning now on Truth Social why he should participate in an ABC debate at all. Back to you.
Peter, I just got a text message from your mother. Do you have a cold?
No, I think I just had something in my throat. I'm good.
All right.
Mom, thank you.
All right. Just one other quick question for you. You talked a little bit about the potential debate on September the 10th. They might leave the mics hot. Kamala Harris, in the meantime, one of her press people was on with yesterday with Howie on Media Buzz and said she definitely will do an interview before the end of this week, and that she has done 80 interviews so far this year. Does that little 10 seconds that you talked to her a couple of days ago, does that count as one of the 80?
If it does, we should talk to promos and hype it as an exclusive. No, but if you're the Harris team, it's smart because they pushed it off to the last 3-day weekend when people are not paying attention before the election. And so if there is an issue, if she makes a mistake, it's going to get a lot less scrutiny right away than if they do it after the first week of the NFL football, like on that Sunday night.
Well, Peter, her campaign is saying that she's changed her mind on some of these issues, like fracking. She's no longer against fracking, or she's not going to take away our private health.
All the fracking stuff is straight up. It's twofold. One, because Western PA, they want to talk about that. And also it plays into like Kamala Harris's wishy-washy, which I don't know if that's a good angle of attack for Kamala Harris so far. But I would like to see firm commitments to policies from Kamala Harris. I think, come on, it's fucking 70 days, right? What the fuck are we doing? And then they can be like, oh, she said yes to Medicare for all. Now she's saying no. She was the border czar, and now she wants a border bill, blah, 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 like all this shit. It depends on if it's like sticky enough. But overall, as far as like lines of attack goes, if your entire campaign, okay. What? I know you said something similar about the DNC being filled with elites. However, a lot of DNC campaign workers are quitting because they felt like the DNC convention did not represent everyday America. They felt like it was a gathering of elites just throwing a big party saying, let's forget about problems. I was wondering what you thought about it. I have no idea where you're getting this information that a lot of DNC workers are quitting, Miss Riz. Like, who did you get? Where did you source this from? Instagram reel. Okay, I'm not clicking on that. Okay, I'm sorry. Not even a TikTok. Straight up Instagram reel. Love you, Miss Riz. You're cooking. Okay. So, I don't know how sticky the wishy-washy angle of attack will look like, especially when, if you're running a personality-based campaign, okay, if you're running a personality-based campaign, as Trump is, he matches up really well against someone who you can actually hit on the personality front, like Hillary Clinton. Okay? Hillary Clinton was a perfect matchup in many ways for someone like Donald Trump. Joe Biden, on the other hand, was not. Because with Joe Biden, all of a sudden, you're going up against an institutional Democrat who was Obama's vice president, who's been in the fucking Senate for half a century. Okay? He's been in politics for half a century. And yet, like, there aren't many personal attacks you can hit him on. With Kamala Harris, there aren't that many personal attacks you can hit her on either. When Biden first dropped, you were so team coconut. Can I ask why you switched so hard? What? No, I was never team I don't like that people personally just imagine or invent what my fucking point of view is, and then they just like run off of that in an accusatory tone. I only said that Kamala Harris would be far better than Joseph Robinette Brandon. I was right. Okay. I also was excited about the way that Democrats, for the first time ever, responded to one, public pressure, okay, which obviously happened to align with donor interests as well, and it happened to align with establishment Democrats' interests as well. But they responded to public pressure. I promise you it's not an accusation. Just want to hear your thoughts. I'm with you 100%. Okay, listen to me then. Listen. I was excited at a change of attitude from the Democratic Party that I had never seen before. Okay? And I kept reiterating, let's see what they do with this. Okay? Let's see what they do with this. Let's see if they lean into progressive positions. Now, why did I say that? Because she chose Tim Walz. She didn't go with the running scared safety pick with Josh Shapiro that would have put Pennsylvania on the board for them. Okay? And instead went with someone with progressive policies under his belt. Okay? That also went against, like, once again, what Democratic Party operatives normally are scared to do. It basically locked her in to defend progressive policy positions. That made me think perhaps they'll run an Obama 2008 style campaign. That guy from chat is 100% right. Bro, you were super live for weeks. You just changed your mind recently. No shame in that. You said you were coconut pilled, bro. I was in the stream when Biden dropped out. You were hyper libbed out for weeks, bro. I think a lot of you don't understand when I am exaggerating or also being an entertainer. It could be because of being neurodivergent. I myself have a little bit of that A-worded dog in me, okay? And I sometimes don't pick up on certain things, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But it would be really weird if I turned around and said /S every time I made a statement and gave you a tone indicator, okay? I also find it very odd, okay? I also find it very odd that people are like, nah, dog, you don't know where you were at. I know where you were at better than you. I maintained cautious optimism, okay? That's precisely the reason why even up until the DNC, when people would ask me like, oh, so are you, endorsing Kamala Harris? I said, I'm not doing that. I'm waiting and seeing. That's precisely the reason why you cannot find a single clip of me actually fucking endorsing Kamala Harris. Okay? Apparently you were really, really, really behind Kamala by saying you were a coconut head. These people aren't serious. I know. It's especially funny, okay? Because a lot of people also that were, very leftist would get mad at me as well in that time frame and would be like, are you libbed up for Kamala? What the fuck is going on? And I repeated that over and over again that I was not, and that I was being cautiously optimistic due to what I was seeing from the Democratic Party. Just you're saying here, the problem with Kamala Harris, this is from 3 weeks ago, in the same time frame that the chatter is accusing me of being libbed up on, from August 4th. Kamala Harris could keep Trump out of the White House, but has she earned your vote? So much so that even Zay Squirrel was like saying I'm fucking pro-genocide and shit. Hasanabi Libs, wow, you were being a spoiler. Also, Libs, you were so Kamala pilled on God, bro. And somehow they don't accuse you of being a Republican because you were a Bergamaniac. Yeah, they're too scared of the Bergamania. That's why. A decade of progressive advocacy overwritten by doing a coconut meme. I know.
Health insurance companies. Who was saying that? Is it just anonymous sources, or did you get names of people in the campaign? Like, how do we know she really feels this way? Because we haven't heard from her.
She has not said that out loud. I have emailed, as things have come up, many different people that are working in Wilmington, and they will tell us that on background, which basically just means on behalf of the campaign, they will tell us that her position has changed. But we have not heard the words come out of her mouth. And depending on who she does the interview with, we might not. Because the way that a lot of these interviews go, and based on what the convention program was, chances are it could be a lot about Trump and not a lot about how different her 2019 statements are to 2024.
Well, yeah, it's coming up without her, even on the Sunday shows, which you would think would be friendly environments. So I can't imagine outside Oprah or Rachel Maddow how that would not come up. I mean, Lester Holt and these guys, Jake Tapper, they seem to want to ask.
Chatters, I'm going to make one point that I hope many of you understand in the future. Okay? Okay? I need you to understand something. If a video that someone has made about me online has not reached like 1 million fucking views or 500,000 views in like 2 days, and you bring it up in here, and I click on that video, okay, of like, this person made a call out video on you, and I click on the video and it's got like 20,000 views, I will permanently ban you. Okay? You know who you are in the chat. Okay? You know who you are in the chat. You keep fucking writing in the chat. Do you understand? Unless a video has reached a certain level, okay, it could be from someone that I like. It could be from someone that I don't like. Okay? It could be someone that's like criticizing me or whatever. Okay? I'm telling you right now, I cannot watch every single YouTube video that is made about me. Okay? If a video has reached like a couple 100,000 views in like a day or two, it's worthy of being addressed. If it has not, I'm not going to watch it. Okay? Please. Because otherwise, you're giving free clout.
They're asking those questions hypothetically because he won't appear on their shows either.
The reason I think that is because for the last 4 years, I keep like a running list of questions for Joe Biden, and I have watched interview after interview that he has done sit-downs, and pretty much none of them get answered.
Yeah. And do we
asked or answered?
Indeed. And do we have any idea who the person might be who gets the interview?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Peter.
Glad you're healthy.
Yes, it's been 36 days since she jumped into the campaign and has not had a sit-down interview. People do have questions about her policy because we heard her at the DNC. She just bashed Donald Trump, and they all talked about abortion, the abortion issue, but never talked about what her policies are going to be. If you go on her website, her policies are not listed. Tom Cotton sat down on one of the Sunday shows, and he says we all deserve to see her in an interview. Listen.
When she campaigned for president, in her own right, she did in fact promise things like decriminalizing illegal immigration.
Are you voting for her, or will you not say because you don't want to endorse her? Just curious, because not sure where you stand. What difference does it make in your calculation? Like I'm being for real. Like, it doesn't change my analysis even a little bit. What difference does that fucking make? I don't know why people keep consistently asking me. I've already told you, okay? I don't know. That's it. And it has nothing, it literally has nothing to do with my analysis regardless. Okay?
Taking away health
but
insurance
that's
is
his
a job.
position she's clearly changed on, and
No,
she
she
has said
hasn't.
she has changed. Yes, she has.
No, she has not. John, she has not said that. She's not. You pointed out, Senator Sanders, repeatedly things that her campaign has said. Anonymous aides speaking on background to reporters has said, well, she no longer believes these things. Okay, maybe she has changed her position on things like taking away your health insurance and confiscating your gun.
And to the many people in the chat that say, oh, dude, your advocacy for her will change the outcome of this election, then they should listen to me. Okay? Perhaps people don't want to watch you if you are voting for Trump. Yeah, if you think I'm voting for Trump, then you should probably stop watching me, stop watching anything online, and immediately check in to a mental institution to get, you know, some kind of competency test, because you would have to be hallucinating an entirely separate reality. It was just a guess, lol. Because if you're not voting at all, that tells me a lot. What? It doesn't tell you. First of all, I've never said I'm not voting at all. And secondly, it doesn't tell you shit. It also doesn't change my analysis at all. So what the fuck are you talking about? Like everything that I talk about campaign strategy from the Republican side as well. Like, what do you mean? Does that mean I'm a Republican strategist? No. It's so funny to me when people can't comprehend the concept of people on the left having different personal beliefs and convictions. Like, you know how libbed up I am? Imagine if I was constantly coming after you for not matching my lib level is how these chatters act. Yeah. What's your opinion on single issue voters, even when the single issue is morally just and deserves defending? I mean, I think it's understandable. Guys, we are fundamentally at odds if you are a firm and committed believer that like everyone should be voting on the basis of harm reduction, because most people don't do that anyway, okay? You just are wish casting a different universe, a different reality, and you want me to present that reality in my advocacy, okay? I'm not going to tell you to vote on harm reduction. I will tell you, vote whoever the fuck you want to vote for as long as it's not Donald Trump, okay? You know, I will never tell you to vote for Donald Trump. I will urge you not to vote for Donald Trump. That would be ridiculous. Having said that, however, it is perfectly valid, perfectly understandable, perfectly normal. It is, as a matter of fact, probably the fundamental starting point of a democratic process, okay, to demand concessions from your elected representatives. That is why we have a democracy, okay? Like, why the fuck do we have a democracy if that's not how this works? If there is no basis for the democratic process, okay, if there's no base for the democratic process, and there are plenty of undemocratic things that happen, okay, regardless, like the top of the hour ad break, unless there is an outsized number of people who are subscribed at the top of the hour, so they don't even see the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, which, by the way, you can be a part of that group, a part of that constituency, by subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub, okay? Why do people act like Trump will be better on Gaza issue? I mean, they're wrong. If they do say that, they're objectively wrong. But as it stands, it's not Donald Trump that is currently conducting the genocide. It is the Democratic Party. That is a fact. You don't want to recognize that fact, and you want people to hyper-focus on something else that they are not going to hyper-focus on. It's just not how it works, okay? Just like I can't move the needle in a genuine direction that is the opposite of like what mainstream media is pumping out, what the campaigns are pumping out. I just can't. I can't do that. I don't have that kind of power. No one does. No person outside of the much larger media ecosystem has that kind of power. Okay? Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now. Like I said, it's coming for you.
If she has changed her position, she owes it to the American people to come out and say in her own words when she changed and why she changed. That's one reason why she needs to address the American people and speak to these questions.
Yeah, one of the many reasons.
Right.
See, and I laughed too because this guy, another one of these pollsters, said, I don't think she should talk to press at all because she's doing good the way she is right now. She should just be talking to the people. She doesn't talk to the people. She talks to them, doesn't hear any of the questions. She's not listening to the people. She goes and gives a speech in front of a supportive crowd.
Through a teleprompter.
Right, through a teleprompter. And by the way, I'm not too sure. Her momentum is done. Trump had it in July. She had it in August. But now it's flat-footed tie. And in places like, I don't know if you've seen the Siena New York Times poll, in Georgia, Trump's up 6. So there's a push, and there'll be a bump from this. But after this, I think people are really going to have a discerning look at what exactly she stands for, because you can't even dispute what she stands for because you don't know what Kamala Harris you're fighting. Are you fighting the vice president? Are you fighting the senator?
Kamala won't magically win this election. Everyone must do what they can, especially if you have an audience. Brother, I don't think you understand this, okay? Politicians need to earn your votes. That is what the democratic process is about, okay? If you want me or my community to go out and do door knocking and vociferously defend Kamala Harris, then you need to understand that she needs to give the progressive side of her base something that they can stick to. Okay? I don't care. This is a nice narrative, but Trump is literally on the other side. I know that. That's not how this works, though. Because even if I were to fucking turn around and engage in a door knocking operation for Kamala Harris, which would be hilarious because there are no policies to door knock for, okay? There's literally nothing you can do in your advocacy. If you were currently going to engage in a canvassing operation for Kamala Harris, there is no material that you can use. Did you know that? No, you don't, because you're operating on fucking vibes like a dumbass, okay? There is literally no campaign materials to canvass on currently. What the fuck are you talking about? This is why I always say you cannot change the trajectory of a campaign. If a campaign is making the wrong moves, the most I can do, the most impact I can have in this upcoming election is if by some random happenstance, I have Kamala Harris staffers that are watching that then go, oh shit, he's actually right. We should probably work on this and change it. That's the most impact I have currently. It is very frustrating that people constantly engage in this silly ass fucking harm reduction argument when that didn't fucking work in 2016. Okay? No politician is owed your support. They are not entitled to your support. They must earn it. This is the fundamental principle of democracy, of the democratic process. Stop fucking chirping, smile and dial. Okay? Because if you consider what you're doing to be canvassing currently in the digital sphere at the behest of Kamala Harris's campaign, you're actually barking up the wrong tree, okay? You are not going to be able to move me or many members in this community on this position. You're certainly not going to be able to move me on this position, okay? Especially if you think that this is the first time I've encountered this narrative. I guess you weren't here in all of the other election cycles that I have obviously covered, okay? Go lobby the fucking campaign to get them to hear the demands of the progressive base in order to secure their support, because that will have significantly larger impact on the outcome of the election than you being able to successfully lobby me into advocating for Kamala Harris. That's it.
Fighting this new person who's running on Donald Trump's issues, like strong on the border, fighting crime, a strong defense, red, white, and blue. Excuse me, it's like David Plouffe came in there and said the reason why Trump is popular is because of these things. So let's give him to Harris. And I think the most egregious example was the tips. But I didn't know that was the tip of the iceberg of the theft of the Republican Party.
Well, both sides know that the debate, aside from this interview that's supposedly going to happen,
all of these guys are wrong, by the way.
The debate could change the trajectory of the race, because after this interview, then there's going to be one debate that we know of, although Donald Trump is suggesting maybe he might not do it after whatever he saw on ABC. So ultimately, if that changes the trajectory, the less she says, the better. So I get what the pollster is saying, but at the same time, Tom Cotton is right. All we know, the only words we have heard her that have come out of her mouth were things that she said about her policy in 2019. And for Peter Doocy to just say that he's heard from people close to her in the campaign, but it's all on background, that is how they are programming the press. They're saying, okay, on background, this is, she's changed her position. But we need to hear her say, I've changed my position.
How are we supposed to believe that? Joe Biden ran on being a moderate. He was going to unite our country. Our country has never been this divided since I can remember. It didn't work. He lied to the American people. He ended up voting in such a progressive manner. And how do we know she's not going to do that? That's the way she stood throughout her entire political career.
Here's the hope. They keep booking people like Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance on the other networks where they get their point out. These hosts have nothing to stand on. Jonathan Karl is a pretty adept guy, but he has no follow-up because he knows Tom Cotton's 110% right. You can sit there and say, why did Donald Trump didn't say this or that the whole time? But at one point, when you invite other people on, you're going to hear it. And there's independence.
Like, she just literally said, like, he was just really progressive. He didn't unite the country. He divided it further.
And undecideds that watch.
Day 1 million of wishing the left-wing Fox News imagined was real. I know. That's another reason why I like watching the Fox News commentary on, you know, the Democratic ticket, because like I like to close my eyes and imagine that is how it is, you know,
those networks. And when his surrogates go out there, you know, the Governor Burgum and others, they Marco Rubio when he comes back, I guess he's on vacation now. When you book these guys and Lindsey Graham, you get the other side. You do. So that's the hope.
It's also kind of funny because like they contradict themselves on a regular basis, where like in one breath. Okay. In one breath, they say Kamala Harris is adopting the Republican policies so firmly by putting out a patriotic message, screaming USA, USA. And on the other front, they're like, but she's a communist. So which one is it? I guess it's both.
Meanwhile, also I have to say this, front page of the New York Times, the first gentleman is a sex symbol. Please. I've seen
second gentleman.
Second gentleman. He wants to be the first gentleman.
Okay.
He says he's a sex symbol. When Doug, what's his last name? Emhoff is a sex symbol. I think that goes beyond reproach.
And this is
in terms of biases. It's the third story in the New York Times. Sex symbol. Doug Emhoff.
That surprises me. I don't expect that from the New York Times.
What was the lead story?
Grade. No. The other story was how Kamala Harris is not from Berkeley. She's from Oakland, because it makes it seem rugged and tough.
Okay.
As opposed to Berkeley, which is berserk.
You're spending a lot of time in the New York Times. We have a website, foxnews.com.
Got to be prepared.
Just saying. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Somehow, I don't know what it is, you'll have to explain it, but the Vietnamese community loves me and I love them. You know?
I can explain it. I mean, the major chunks of the Vietnamese diaspora came here as major chunks of the Vietnamese